September 7th, 1959. In the town of Bled, Yugoslavia, one of the toughest tests in chess history, the candidates tournament, was in full swing. On one side of the board sat the 16-year-old wonder boy of America, Bobby Fischer. On the other side was the experienced master of strategy, Pal Benko. These were the tensest years of the Cold War, and this young genius was there to challenge the Soviet giants with only a few $100s in his pocket. The real prize was far greater than money. It was the chance to take one more step toward the World Championship. That day, Benko had built a very solid wall of defense to surprise Fischer. But young Fischer, with a patience far beyond his years, began searching for the weakest brick in that wall. Instead of crowding his pieces in the center, he slowly pushed the pawns protecting his king forward. It was like a hunter quietly weaving a web around his prey before cornering it. The veteran Master Benko took a risk, trying to crash down on his young opponent like an avalanche with his pawns. Benko thought he could intimidate Fischer. He was throwing his pawns like spears at Fischer's king. But Fischer did not run from this attack. On the contrary, with the precision of a surgeon, he saw that this very attack was actually opening huge gaps in Benko's own defense.
Mikhail, the magician from Riga and the leader of the tournament at the time, noticed something while watching this game from the next table. Fischer wasn't just winning. He was stripping away his opponent's ability to create a game. Boris Spassky would later recall that day by saying, quote, "That day, it wasn't just a game that was lost at that table. It was the first time the unstoppable power of the future world champion was clearly seen." As the game reached its end, Fischer placed his strongest piece, his rook, right into the heart of the enemy, the most dangerous spot on the board. He was offering his rook like a sacrifice, but in reality, it was an execution order. Benko looked at the board, thought for a few seconds, and with an expression of pure helplessness, reached out his hand. The 16-year-old boy had dismantled the Grandmaster. Fischer might not have won this tournament, but he sent a message to the entire world. On that cold Yugoslavian evening in 1959, the greatest legend in chess history was being born. Fischer's greatest achievement in this game wasn't just putting the pieces in the right places. It was turning his opponent's pawn attack into a boomerang and using his rooks like axes at the end of the game. That famous rook check on the 35th move is still taught as a lesson in chess books today. What do you think about this legendary victory? Was Fischer's greatest weapon his composure or his calculation power? Let's meet in the comments. If you want more of these historical match analyses, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. See you at the next move. Stay with chess.